So we've got the title of our book. When we hover over it, we get the green outline, which is exactly what we want. If we click into it, the outline changes to a dashed border, which is exactly what we want. So I can change this to say Craig's book. Now, when I click outside of the control, the onBlur event will happen and it'll run our function. So it'll make the callback to the server, update our repository, and then also update the UI. So let's see if it in fact does work. So there it changed the UI for us. When we heard back from the server, it updated it again. Now I can hit refresh and I can see that we do have persistence, all done without pressing any buttons or doing anything like that. So that's the title editor, and basically the date editor is pretty much the exact same thing with a few different permutations to it. So let's go ahead and add in the code that we need for the date editor. So we'll start with the ASPX, and there's a few things that we're going to need here. First of all, we will add in a label so that we have a place to stick the word published so we know what that date is for. So we'll do div ID equals published. And if you remember correctly, that we have a style sheet entry up at the top that will give us the correct position. Now the next thing that we need is the date control, and then also a span, a container that's going to hold the current data. So create another div here, and the ID for this one will be date control. And initially we don't want to show this, so we're going to give it the class of none. And then go over to our toolbox and find the web date chooser and drag that in there. Just stick that up there within our tag there. So clean this up a little bit, and we're going to give this an ID of WDC, so web date chooser publish date. Now the next thing that we need is the little container that will hold the current data, so we'll create one more div. The ID will be date, and the class will be live input. This will give us the hover effect that we need, and then we'll create a placeholder here for when we click on this. We'll just do date underscore click, and since we're going to be affecting the CSS properties of this div right here, we'll pass in an instance of this guy so that we don't have to programmatically find an instance of it later. And so what we can do here is use another expression to say this book dot publish date short, and that's a property, a format property off of the data object that basically gives us a short date time based off of the value. So then what we need to do is create a hook in here for the JavaScript here for our onClick, but then also something that we're going to do when we change the value. We need to have some JavaScript that runs when we change the value on our web date chooser. So let's go into the design mode, and the designer is reading our style sheet as it should. So let's take out this class none, and I want to show you something you can use within the smart tag here. Go to our web date chooser, go into the properties, and find client side events. What we want to do is have something fire when the value is changed. So what we'll do is click on the drop down here and say add new handler. Now you'll see the properties window has picked up all of the JavaScript functions that are on the page, which is nice, but we don't have one set up yet, so we're going to click on add handler. So it'll come up as WDC publish date underscore value change. We'll keep that. And it also brings in the arguments that are associated with this function as well. So that's a really nice feature of the control, that it'll add all that in there for you. So I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. We don't need an extra script tag, so we'll just place it in right there. Okay, so we have two functions that we have to implement right now. So we're going to also create the one for date underscore click. So this is what will happen when someone clicks on the date itself. So the first thing we'll do is create a variable which will be a pointer to the container for the date control. So basically this div right here. So we'll call this date control, and we can do a $get off of date control. And then at this point what we're doing is basically just manipulating the style sheets. So we want to hide the date, the one that we're looking at right now, and show the date control itself. So we'll do an add CSS class to the control we're looking at right here, and we want to hide it, so we're going to add the CSS of none. And all this does, if you remember, is apply display equals none, so it hides it. We're going to remove the none CSS class from our date control. And finally, we'll add the CSS class of live input edit to the date control. Cool. Okay, so when someone clicks on that date, it'll show the date control, hide the container for the current value, and then we give it the edit look and feel that we need.